Welcome to this week's Whole Week Costa. For Kev, I'm Jay, and now we're not exactly deep into the second season of Star Wars Clone Wars, but we are going to be doing the final episode of a three-part story arc and the first episode of a 5-part story arc. Kev, you want to start with the final episode of this last story arc?
Yeah, so Children of the Force. Darth Sidious has a new dark assignment: kidnap Force-sensitive children from across the galaxy and bring them back to Mustafar. So this episode is pretty awesome. And then the one we're going to start next with the beginning of this next cycle is like a very different shift in tone. So just be prepared for like halfway through this podcast here. That's what we're going to be talking about. Because in this one we're talking about kidnapping children.
Yeah. So Kane Bade is another. Once again, we talk about Kane Bade and how like perfect and how he has a plan for everything, which is fine. That's his character now. I guess I'm used to it. It's like it's like Stockholm syndrome. Like it's like, oh, okay, now he's good.
We're just Cad Bane fans now after 3 episodes.
Huh?
We're just Cad Bane fans after 3 episodes now.
No, it just. We accept that he is like the perfect bad guy. Like he's now the best bounty hunter. He has a plan for everything. So it's like you know what I mean. It's not that we're fans. It's just like we're Stockholm syndrome into liking him as a bad guy.
I gotcha.
Yeah. So this was pretty cool. They go to Kane Bade starts kidnapping younglings, and then we head to Mustafar.
Yeah, so the whole overall plot of this is like pretty dark, right? So we're gonna capture and torture Force-sensitive children. So this is like levels of as far as the main Star Wars stuff that like non-Star Wars fans would have seen, which is just the main movies. This is like Anakin killing the Sand People levels of dark. They're literally about to torture children at one point in the episode when they're eventually stopped. So, yeah. but then I don't know.
They were actually going to do surgery on them, like to make them slaves.
Yeah, exactly. The goal was to basically, I guess, turn them over to the dark side, and but if they died, it was fine. I think that's what Sidious says at one point. Like, well, if it doesn't work, I didn't lose anything. It's just some dead kids. It's fine.
Yeah, which is like super wrong.
So there was a few interesting character things in this, I thought. So I like the comparison between when Cad Bane first, when they first discovered him, and then he tried to escape, and then Anakin tried to jump on his ship and fight him, and then he, realized he couldn't, and then he calls to have those light speed rings turned off, and that admiral just decides, I don't know, to be a dick instead of turning them off. But I like the contrast then when Obi-Wan was in the same situation and had to chase after Cad Bane. He gets to a point where Cad Bane jumps in his ship and he like is able to assess the situation and just doesn't try some last ditch attempt to get him. He just knows it's over. And I like that little character moment of the difference in maturity level between the two. Anakin's so impulsive, Obi-Wan just understand, like it's not going to work. I'm not going to do it. So I thought that was cool.
Well, it was one of those episodes that really, it's one of the first times that you have these 3 episode arcs that actually all the arcs make sense. Like the whole story is like very good at flowing. You don't change the main characters in the middle of the arc. Like there's a beginning, middle, and end. Sometimes these arcs, like you start at the beginning and then you only have this like strand thin thing holding all the arcs together, and this one, like this is like the same arc all the way through.
Yeah, true. I like that, and I like how much they ramp things up too, because like I said multiple times here about capturing and kidnapping children and stuff. I mean, that was obviously the implication from the first Holocron episode, but you still didn't. I don't think you logically thought it through to its conclusion 2 episodes ago. Like, oh no, they're going to torture children. So they really this episode really ratcheted things up. The other character whom I liked was when they came into the base of Mustafar, and they had to figure out which way to go. And I think it's the first time we really see Ahsoka use the Force. And I thought it was a really interesting time to do it because, obviously Anakin gets completely taken over by the dark side later on. So I guess the question is, at this point, does he have any of that in him already? Is he 90-10? Is he 80-20? Is there no dark side in there yet? But I thought there was multiple hints of that in this episode, that there's at least a little bit, because here in this place that's very pervaded by the dark side, and Anakin points it out when they get there, and Ahsoka it's just uncomfortable. I don't think she fully knows what it is, but she is able to see through that and use the Force and find the direction of the children. Anakin's totally clouded by the dark side when they walk in. He says, I don't know where they are. So I thought that was really interesting. Once they get closer to the children, he is able to. It seems like it does come back to him a little bit, but when he first walks in, he's just overwhelmed by the dark side, and Ahsoka is not. So I thought that was really interesting.
Mustafar is definitely where he builds his castle at.
Yeah, well, true. I mean that's interesting too, just the actual location. But then even besides that, just the other implications that I thought were cool, and then Anakin's loyalty to the Chancellor was the other note I have written down here. I mean, he, the fact that Obi-Wan and Mace Windu are like, yeah, this is an internal affair. The government is not involved in this. And then Anakin's like, no, we have to tell the Chancellor. So again, this is a more obvious one, but just setting up the seeds of that, his relationship with the Chancellor that obviously, blooms into something a lot bigger deal later on.
Right. Yeah. And I think the real hero here is Ahsoka. She's definitely the hero of the episode.
I feel like you sound real far away, just FYI. But yeah, she is definitely. Yeah, I mean, she's just, yeah, and even when they go to the Chancellor, it's interesting there because he dismisses her and he only wants to talk to Anakin privately, and I don't know why. I didn't. I mean, they kind of played it off as a disrespect thing, but is it that he didn't want her interfering in whatever it was that they talked about? Because he could tell that she's not corrupted, essentially.
Right. So I mean, it turns out that she's definitely. As much as she doesn't want to listen and takes after Anakin, she's definitely guided by, the light side of the Force, not the dark side.
Yeah, agreed. And then I think that's all I really had to say about that episode.
The next episode, if you want to talk about what the episode's about, then we get into it.
Yeah, so Senate Spy is the name of the episode. At the Jedi High Council's request, Padme investigates a separatist conspiracy in the Senate. This one's a little rough at times. I mean, honestly, I think it's just all the Anakin Padme love scenes are always a little rough. And I don't know if it's because they just don't do love scenes well. I don't know if it's just the carryover from the movies, I hate sand, it gets everywhere. If it's just that sort of thing, it's just, after we've seen those, then this is tough to deal with. Which is a shame because, I mean, it should be a really good love story, right? I mean, this idea that, it's a secret love story, that they're always torn apart, even here that, I mean, they get one night together and his job keeps calling him. I mean, I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of emotion to be had in there, and it's a shame that I feel like I still haven't seen this done well. In multiple Star Wars venues. It just still feels, I don't know. It just these scenes just aren't written well, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, once you actually get past all of that baloney, it is like a really good episode. Like you can see how the arc starts to, how it's going to start, and I don't know where it's going to go, and then but because Anakin's like 18 or 19, like it's going to get bad.
Yeah, that's the thing. You know what? That's a good point. I think they can't. I think they can't figure out. Do they want this like mature, like Romeo and Juliet, like two different sides love story? Although I mean that they were also teenagers, but I guess that's sort of more how it's presented. Or do they want like horny Anakin, like he's a teenage guy, like I don't know, and just like, oh, it's funny because he's a teenage guy and he's jealous, like which do they want? I feel like maybe that's part of the strain of this, watching this relationship. Also, how old is this other senator?
Probably in his 20s. He's probably like 30 and she's like early 20s, mid 20s, 23, 24.
That makes sense, yeah.
And he's like a baron, so he got all his like riches and everything from being a baron, and he's also like kind of suave and rich and a jerk. And now we learned about the Techno Union. Now we learn about the Bankers Union.
I know. Yeah, it is. Yeah. I do want to learn more about the Bankers Union. Although I'm still obsessed with the Techno Union. And I found a new subreddit that I really like about the Clankers. So I'll put it in the link on the YouTube video that I actually put some of our videos into.
I think the Techno Union is a much cooler name and a much cooler premise than the Bankers Union, because we already know the Bankers Union is like super evil.
Just a bunch of bankers, yeah. It's like the Iron Bank in Game of Thrones. It's just they're just killer bankers.
Yep.
But yeah, I don't know. I think the Techno Union too. Just the fact that I don't know. I'm just real obsessed with Skakoans. I wanna see if there's any independent, like even if it's from Legends or whatever, stuff just about them. Because I mean, I don't know. Just their whole image and the fact that they look robotic, but they're not. They're just in spacesuits. But like we see them as robotic. I don't know. I'm just a cool premise. I just like it.
And then we got to talk about how they poison. Not Amadei. What's her name? Padme. Padme Adamala. All I did was just I put her two names together.
Padme Amidala, yeah. But yeah, I don't know. I thought the ending of this was kind of weak too, honestly. So beginning week, ending week, middle, pretty good. Because I don't know, the fact that senator was just so easily tricked. Like, I don't know, that he was just like, oh no, yeah, they'll totally bring you back on the ship and not leave you here to die. Like, or that the Trade Federation just so easily gave up the antidote. Like, yeah. Like it was one guy pointing a gun at him and he's like, oh, okay, I guess we lost. Here's the antidote.
Well, I'll put it this way. He's easily tricked, but if a 23-year-old Natalie Portman came up to if however old she is now came up to me and like tried to like lure me away from doing stuff, like she could easily trick me too.
Well, I would be tricked by her, but at the end when it's Anakin and it's like because I don't get it. Like, did he was Rush Clovis really in love with her that he was that blinded? Because like I get the hormonal thing when she's like, oh, I totally want to be with you, and she's like, okay, like yeah, I think most guys would fall for that, but when Anakin was like, was like, oh, we'll get the antidote or whatever, and then he was like, oh, her life's more important. Like I thought that was a ploy, and I thought he didn't care about her life, and he was gonna still try to betray them in some way, but he like full on went with the plan, and I don't know, I guess he was actually in love with her the whole time, but I mean, I didn't get that sense through the episode. I don't know. This is another, like, we conflated like love and like, wanting Natalie Portman. Like, I mean, I don't know. I think it was one. I didn't get the sense he was in love with her, and then at the end, that seems to be what the case was, and that was the whole episode.
I think it's just because they're all young and stupid.
I guess, but he's like you said. I do get the sense that he's older. Like I don't know, like I mean,
but he's. They said even in the episode he's a baron, which like by like any terms that you read or like see in like popular written stories or TV shows or whatever, barons are just like rich. So it's like they mature society wise, like they mature in society and they get that respect in there. But like when it comes to like love or interpersonal relationships, like they don't really mature. Like they understand how to run a business into the ground, but they don't understand how to run a marriage into the ground.
It makes sense. So yeah, because he wouldn't have had normal interpersonal relationships just because of his status. So
yeah, because of his status, everyone like loves him and respects him. And like this is a person. She was like the queen of Naboo. Now she's a senator, and it's like she's an even person with him. So it's like she would love him for him, not like his symbol.
Yeah, that makes sense. Also, so the only note I took for this whole episode was feel bad for Anakin, Obi-Wan cockblocking him. That was it. I was done with the episode then.
Yeah, but that's kind of Anakin's fault. The whole thing about being a Jedi is that you have to stay celibate and not like get into a relationship.
Yeah. I also felt like, too, I mean, Padme showed her immaturity, too, because I felt like, I mean, she only wanted to take this mission to, I don't know, to be a dick to Anakin for having to do his job. Like, the fact that she was mad at him for that, I thought was unrealistic. And I also kind of feel like, I don't know, I kind of feel like she would understand that because they've both been in these situations before. And then the fact that then she would be like, okay, well, I'm going to take the job and risk both our lives just to get back at you. And like, I mean, I think she was trying to make him jealous. Like that's 90% of why she took the mission, 10% to save the Republic. So I don't know. Like, I mean, like each person in this episode was worse than the last one. C-3PO is literally the only good person in this episode.
So, well, first I want to apologize about my audio issue, which I know I'm going to have. Because I disconnected in the middle of the podcast, so.
Oh, okay. So what are you?
Yeah.
So what are you recording on now?
Oh, the computer.
Okay. It sounds okay now. You just sort of got a little quiet in the middle.
Yeah, that's I switched I hit my plug thing, so it disconnected.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. We can fix it in post.
Yeah. So yeah, but overall, like the first episode, I mean, then we'll talk about the next two and then the next two. But like, I am like excited to see where this goes because it does turn into like more world building than anything.
Agreed. And there's only up to go from here from a Padme Anakin relationship episode.
Right.
So next week's podcast on these next two episodes is probably going to be a lot more upbeat. Although we had some good stuff this week too, or good shows to talk about too. But next week I'm excited for.
Well, you have anything else to say?
That's it for me.
Oh, okay. Well, for Kev, I'm Jay. Check us out on Apple, YouTube, Stitcher, and Spotify, and our Libsyn page. Thanks for listening to this week's Whole Week Costa, and tune in next week.